Another active week of weather expected across Texas, but we're going to be switching it up, switching from a threat of severe storms to more of a hydrometeorological threat. Heavy rainfall, perhaps some very beneficial rains. Let's talk about in the Monday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Good morning. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy and Chief David Reimer. It is Monday, the 8th of May, 2023, and we are going to have another active week in the weather department across Texas, though that does not necessarily mean we're going to be dealing with severe thunderstorms every day. We're going to be changing the weather pattern up a bit, transitioning from more of a springtime stormy mode to somewhat of a tropical downpoury summer weather mode, meaning the threat for severe storms may be decreasing while the threat for heavy rainfall that could cause some flooding issues, especially later this week, could actually be our primary issue. But you know what? A lot of folks need beneficial rain, so bring it on. Let's pop on over. We'll take a look at the severe weather outlooks for today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. For today, the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted portions of northwest Texas, the Big Country, the Concho Valley, southwest Texas, into the Edwards Plateau, the Hill Country, and the Rio Grande Plains for the threat of isolated to scattered severe thunderstorms. The strongest storms today could have hail up to the size of golf balls and localized winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour. Overall wind shear is going to be lower than the last few days, which should hopefully result in a messier storm mode and thus hopefully keeping the high-end threat for hail more limited. That being said, it's May in Texas, so if we do get a rowdy supercell thunderstorm, we may see hail a bit bigger than the size of golf balls. In terms of the forecast for today, we're going to have two convective scenarios play out. One, the first, is going to be a tropical air mass with sea breeze thunderstorms across portions of the coastal plains, upper Texas coast, southeast Texas, east Texas, the Brazos Valley, perhaps into eastern North Texas. You can see that activity gradually spreading north through the day, shooting off a pretty good outflow boundary towards dinner time, making its way into North Texas. As is typical for that activity, it'll be at its peak intensity and most widespread during the peak heating hours this afternoon, while starting to dwindle in coverage around dinner time, and then that'll be long gone by 10 o'clock after sunset. Those storms could have dangerous cloud-to-ground lightning, localized winds over 40 miles an hour, maybe some pea-sized hail, and very heavy rainfall. The overall convective scenario number two, it's going to be this afternoon into early this evening along and east of the dry line located across portions of northwest Texas, the Big Country, the Concho Valley, southeast into the Edwards Plateau, and the Rio Grande Plains. You can see we're going to see isolated storms fire up east of the dry line this afternoon. But most storm activity today, at least this afternoon, will be in northern Mexico. That'll move across the international border into portions of the Edwards Plateau and Rio Grande Plains. Some of these storms this afternoon into this evening could have hail up to the size of golf balls, localized winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour, and heavy rainfall that may cause flash flooding in areas that have already seen quite a bit of rain over the last several days. So we head into Tuesday, the severe weather outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. We transition north with the dry line activity, the potential for isolated to widely scattered severe storms Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday evening along and east of the dry line across the eastern half of the Texas Panhandle, portions of northwest Texas off the Caprock there in the Panhandle, into west central Texas, the Big Country, the eastern Permian Basin, and the western Concho Valley. Overall storm coverage will probably remain limited, but those storms that do form could have large hail up to the size of tennis balls, localized winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour, and perhaps a brief tornado. In terms of storm timing from the high-resolution rapid refresh, you can see we're actually going to have quite a bit of activity again across the eastern half of Texas, that in association with tropical moisture. Most of that will not be severe, but small hail, gusty winds, heavy rainfall, including the potential for localized flash flooding, will exist. So pretty good chance of rain tomorrow afternoon across parts of the middle and upper Texas coasts, into southeast Texas, the Victoria Crossroads, into the Brazos Valley, east Texas, maybe extending as far north as Central Texas and North Texas. In terms of convective severe weather potential, tomorrow afternoon you can see the same model trying to fire up isolated storms across the Texas Panhandle into west central Texas. It's not as rambunctious as it could be, but we definitely can't rule out a few hailers tomorrow evening. In terms of the severe weather outlook for Wednesday, We have the potential for isolated severe thunderstorms across the entirety of the Panhandle, West Texas, the Permian Basin, down into Southwest Texas. The potential for a few somewhat severe storms with large hail up to the size of golf balls, winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour. In terms of forecast rain totals for the next few days, that's not what I was wanting. Please pardon me. There we go. Heaviest rains through Thursday morning will be across portions of the Victoria Crossroads, the middle and upper Texas coast, into the Brazos Valley, North Texas, Southeast Texas, and East Texas. Some locations could receive between 1 to 4 inches of rainfall. Locally higher amounts are possible, and that would be where we could see some flooding issues develop into portions of Tuesday, Wednesday, into Thursday morning, especially where we see multiple rounds of rain move over the same areas, saturating soils, or for folks who had a bunch of rain last week and already have saturated soils. The good news is here we also have the potential for 1/2 inch to perhaps 1 inch of rain across portions of south central Texas, the Edwards Plateau, the Hill Country, all the way up through the Concho Valley, lighter amounts in the Big Country, perhaps a local maxima across the Texas Panhandle. Again, any rain is better than no rain, and we'll definitely take that, although we may end up having a little bit too much as we get into the second half of the work week, with additional heavy rain expected across the southeastern half of Texas. In terms of the flash flood outlooks, this is for tomorrow, Tuesday into Tuesday night. The potential for isolated to widely scattered flash flooding across portions of South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, up through the Edwards Plateau, the Hill Country, into north central Texas, East Texas, the Brazos Valley, the Victoria Crossroads, up into southeast Texas. Again, highest threat for flash flooding, including street flooding, quick rises on creeks and streams, will be in areas that had a bunch of rain last week and just can't take all that much more. As we head into portions of Wednesday night, you can see the eastern half of Texas under the threat for at least isolated flash flooding, but a slight maxima indicated here across central Texas, up through the Brazos Valley, North Texas, Northeast Texas, and East Texas, including the DFW Metroplex. Again, the highest threat for flooding will be in areas that have already had multiple rounds of heavy rain over the last 10 to 14 days, and who may end up dealing with the same as we head into tomorrow and Wednesday. Remember, flash flooding could be street flooding, quick rises on urban streams, rural streams, the bar ditches, creeks and streams, and then the longer duration flooding would be in terms of river flooding, and that would be on the span of weeks. That may be more of an issue the second half of this upcoming week into early next week as we get into a very wet weather pattern and may be able to push enough water into some rivers to cause them to breach into flood stage. But we'll be keeping an eye on that. And in this general convective scheme, the overall severe weather threat would be low. So we'll be keeping an eye on things here at the Texas Storm Chasers. You can do the same in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app, available on the Google Play and Apple App stores. And as always, you can keep an eye on the sky with the interactive weather radar on our website, texasstormchasers.com/radar. We'll have an eye on things today, and the next Texas Weather Roundup will be out bright and early by 7 a.m. on Tuesday. Y'all have a good Monday, and God bless.